keeping the definition of well-being in mind, I'd like to just move forward for the session. And while we do that, please keep all of these things in mind, because your anxieties, your worries could arise from any of these factors as well. Even if one of them is not in harmony, it could adversely affect your well-being. So this is where I want you to start typing in the chat box. And if I can just stop presenting for this particular slide, the question is, what is your top worry about going back to work physically, if there is? Or if I may reframe it even further, what is your top worry about the new normal? If you have a worry, please feel free to share that. I hope the question is clear, and I'm just going to stop presenting for a few moments to read your answers so that I can further take the webinar from there. Please do answer so that we know what is up. So yes, finances are a major concern, and they can be the cause of a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, understandably. Okay, I'm going back to my screen and we'll come back to the chat. Maybe someone, you can keep typing in. We'll come back to it in a while. Personal vehicles are the safest, but not all of us can afford that luxury because we live in very busy metros and we have traffic jams, and it's not safe with the pollution, and plus it's also not effective in terms of time. You can save a lot of time, do a lot of things while you're commuting, but yes, public transport is a major concern for most of us. And not be worried about how you're going to be judged, because it is your right to know, and it is important to ease up certain of the anxiety, that how well is the place going to be sanitized, what are the distances that are going to be kept, what can you do, and to actually gain a sense of control, what kind of clothes can you wear, have it pre-planned if you want to. The other important thing is to manage your information intake. Someone says something, media keeps flaring things up, we don't know what's going to happen. Also limiting it to a certain extent, because when we're going back to work, always thinking of, oh, so many people, so many cases, so much is happening. That information is only for us to remind us that we are not supposed to lower down our guards, but it's not there to create a conspiracy to create anxiety. It's only to keep our anxiety at an optimal level so that we don't slack off. Dividing chores, extremely important, because all family members are going to be going back. Educational institutes are opening, so children are going to be going back. Spouses may be going back to work. Parents may also be going back to work. So deciding, yet we are not very open to having people come over at our home and work. Domestic help is something we are not really open to at the moment, most of us. So not trying to take everything on our own and dividing the chores as much as possible. Choosing a calming activity to consistently practice during your commute. Now it's I think extremely good. It works if I have to, because if I have to travel by metro, it'll take me an hour and a half to reach my workplace. And so in that 1.5 hours, instead of overthinking and instead of worrying about every little thing, if I have some calming music going on, it'll be easier for me to relax here. So you actually need to set goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Now, I cannot say that I'm going to do this much work today when I know I don't have that much time. So that's not realistic. It's not achievable for me. If I have a 6 hour, I have to put in 6 hours for a presentation, but I don't have that much time today because I already have meetings lined up. It's not even smart to put that in my goal. I mean, I have to finish compiling the presentation. I can say, okay, I'll do half of it, but I cannot put an unrealistic goal that I'm going to finish all of it. And I already know I have a lot of meetings planned. I cannot do it. And similarly, that also translates to things at home. So I cannot do probably, or most of us won't be able to do laundry on weekdays because of the commute and we are coming back home later. We don't have the time and we have things to do when we get back home. So yes, don't keep it for that time. Because if we keep something on that day and we don't achieve it, there is a sense of demotivation which keeps adding to our frustration. So don't set goals we are not able to achieve. Set very specific goals. Today I'm only going to do this much, and I'm only going to cook 2 dishes today because I don't have time for doing the whole week's dishes today. I'm only going to do this much because I only have an hour and a half to do so, and I have other things to do in that time, and I have to sleep on time. So specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So timely is the time foundation. In how much time can you do that? So my slide says time management, but my points say everything but time management. It says manage energy, not time. What it means is that most of us know when we are more energetic and when we are least energetic. Plan the things that you find very complicated, that you don't like doing, when you're most energetic. That way it's easier to get them done. When I'm already low on energy and someone asks me to do mathematics, something I don't enjoy doing at all, I'm not going to get to it. I'm not even going to start it. I mean, forget finishing it and achieving that goal. I'm not even going to get to it when I'm already low on energy. So I know that my morning till about 5 in the evening, I'm full. I'm fully charged. I'm active from 5 in the morning to 5 in the evening. After that, my concentration starts dipping. So I won't plan big things at that time. These are some of the effects of social isolation. One of the most phenomenal things that has happened during this time is that we have been socially isolated, and man is a social being, social animal. We all know that. So this is going to be one of the things that has affected us in many different ways. So there is social anxiety on how to go back to meeting people, how to restart conversations, how to reestablish bonds. Low morale because we are feeling that it's never going to get back to normal. So we are all feeling, sometimes we feel low. Change in working and behavior patterns. Now, what was us 1.5 years ago is not going to be the same person even at work, because this 1.5 years has really changed us all a lot. I hope so. I hope we are not static and we are not stagnant. We have changed. But social isolation can also make one person very autocratic sometimes, not wanting to be a part of the team. So it can have negative effects too. Impact on communication. Just a few days ago, us colleagues met. One of them had resigned, one of them had left the job, and she had gone somewhere out of Delhi. So we'd all come and met each other, and what we discussed was, and we're all psychologists and counselors and all of that, and one of the most common phenomena that we noticed is that nowadays in social gatherings, we don't know what to talk beyond a point. So most often we use phrases, so what else has been happening? So what else? So tell me something new. And there is nothing new. There is nothing else that has been happening, because most of us have been going through the same phase of working from home and so on and so forth. So our communication has also been impacted. We are also not able to communicate very clearly, and we are so used to texting now, especially the younger generation. I don't know how they're going to survive when they come back to school is my major concern. But most of us are surviving on WhatsApp communication, not really understanding how important non-verbal communication is. And maybe we are awkward at it initially. Coming to anxiety versus stress. Now, stress, long-term stress can lead to anxiety disorders, can lead to clinical anxiety. Not necessarily, but it can happen. So the difference between the two is that stress comes when you have lesser resources to deal with the demands that are being made on us. And anxiety comes when we are thinking too much about the future, when we are worrying what if something happens. So stress can also be present related, something in the present that I'm feeling worried about. Anxiety is mostly something that can happen in the future, may not be happening at the moment. Usually that is what the difference between stress and anxiety is. Other differences are in front of you. Some of the symptoms overlap, so many people confuse stress with anxiety. But stress, when prolonged and not resolved, can turn into anxiety. Anxiety not necessarily starts with stress. Anxiety can be triggered by a certain event and certain negative emotions in us and negative thought patterns. But it can also be caused because of stress.